Okay, so today I thought I'd have a sit down and just have a talk about the Hoya method, why I use it, my whole history with it, why I think it's good and worth trying out, and maybe do some example solves. So first, let's do an overview of the method. I'm going to use 4x4, but I do actually use it for every big cube. So let me start off just by comparing to Yao. So Yao, you'll start off with, if you're a white cross or white yellow solver, you'll start always with the white and yellow centres, and then you'll make the cross, and you make 3 cross edges so that you have this U layer free to make the rest of everything. And then afterwards you come up here, solve your last cross edge, and go into 323 or K4, whatever you do. In Hoya, we tend to start with the opposite of that. Instead of solving on our cross and opposite colours, we solve on the other colours. So any colour we don't use as our cross. Then we build 2 adjacent centres. And from here, we can use these layers that are unsolved to solve our cross. Then afterwards we just do FL and solve our last 2 centres like normal. And again, we're left in the same state. So, that's how the method works. Now, why did I start using it? Well, in general, I always struggle with Yao, especially with the centres, and I think that is the main thing. So that's why I tried it for 4x4, and back when I started competing, if you look at my early competitions, I actually used to compete in 5x5 but not 4x4 because I just didn't enjoy solving 4x4 with Yao. And eventually I gave Hoya a go. It turned out to be something I enjoyed and was a bit faster with, so I stuck with it. Anyway, for big cubes, I decided to try it out at my second competition in 5x5, and I found that I ended up getting overall PB average when I didn't even use Hoya beforehand. And so at that point I was locked in. I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep using this. So since then I've got 33 official average on 4x4, I think 104 on 5x5. I've got a sub 2 6x6 mean, and my 7x7 is not very good, but in general I'm pretty capable of getting sub 30, sub 1, sub 2, sub 3 using these methods, so they're definitely not bad. And if you look at the Hoya world records now, we've got Alvin, who has been getting, I think he's got a 215 official 7x7 mean, which is incredibly good. And I honestly think that at the top level, Hoya is just as good as Yao or Redux. And so I want to go into why. So, what are the problems with it? Well, it is a bit less efficient for the cross edges. I'm going to say a bit is over exaggerated how much worse it is, but it's definitely worse than Yao in terms of the edge efficiency. In my opinion, that is the only drawback. I can't really think of another one other than the fact that there aren't many resources for it, but I think putting a method down due to its lack of resources is silly because that just continues the issue and says don't use this, it doesn't have any resources, and then it doesn't get any resources because nobody uses it. So the more people start to pick up this method, the more people are going to develop new things for it. I want to talk about why I think it's a good method. Firstly, after you've finished, when you make your cross, you make all 4 edges instead of making 3. Now some people do make 4 edges with Yao and then preserve it, but it's a lot of mental gymnastics, and the Yao centers are already quite restricted, so there's no restrictions. And that's another thing, there's no restriction on centers. You make centers just like you would in Redux, except for 2 moves either side of the last 2 centers. And occasionally, like on 4x4 and sometimes on 5x5, you'll get a pop apparently. You'll get a case where yeah, like something like this, or something like this maybe. But basically, if the cross is along a line like this, or in the same on 5x5, you can just do F. So it actually barely adds any move count to the centres, so there's no restriction on that too. So it actually makes a lot of the solve quite a bit easier and ergonomic. Now some people are very, very good at Yao centres, and I'm not saying that it's better than Yao for this reason, but it's definitely got that above Yao. So you also get more options if you're only white cross or if you're only white yellow. You get twice as many options to start out with. I have had multiple like 1 or 2 move centres in competitions and solve centres in competitions, a lot more than a Yao user would get because they just show up a bit more often. You're more likely to be able to take advantage, and you don't even have to be colour neutral to use all centres. You just need to be able to maybe do blue cross occasionally. My friend Jake Brown actually has used Hoya to help, I believe used Hoya to help become colour neutral, like becoming colour neutral on big cubes first, and then they can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I think that was something they said to me before. So Hoya is very easy to get more options to start out with, and so you're never going to get a really terrible first centre unless there's literally nothing good on the cube. After you finish the cross edges, you'll realise you're right here. You just do LF and then you can go straight into this. I feel like it's a much nicer transition straight into edges. I know that since you do the last cross edge like that most of the time, it is pretty direct into it, but I find it really easy to not only preserve half-made edges during my last 2 centres, but also to just really look ahead during them. And so I think you've got a much nicer transition into edges with Hoya. And there's 2 more points, and they're not huge points, but there's a lot of room for development. As I said, there's not huge resources, but actual efficiency on building Hoya cross edges isn't really developed that much. Like, this looks like a terrible case, these 2 reds, but actually you can solve them like that. And we're not at a point where people are really finding these really, really efficient solutions. Currently, Hoya efficiency is mostly about how much awareness you have of the pieces and how good you are at influencing the other pieces on the cube. But I believe we could start applying these really efficient cross-edge solutions just by recognising where the 3 pieces are and just knowing what moves to do in the most efficient way. That's where we get with C-Fop F2O, and it's where we're going to get with Hoya edges. So, and once it's like that, we're going to close the gap quite a lot. I've come to realise recently that when I compare my 4x4 splits, everyone's like, you're using Hoya, you'd be so much faster if you used a good method. But it tends to be the case that actually I have a faster cross and centres than those people. It's not what holds me back on 4x4. I can quite comfortably get 12-13 seconds cross and centres on 4x4, but I don't average sub 30, and I know that's plenty enough. So yeah, and there's one more small one, which is fun. Not everyone's going to find Redux fun, not everyone's going to find Yao fun. You might find Hoya fun. If you don't like it, don't use it. But it's a very enjoyable method to me, and so I'm going to keep working on it and keep trying to discover new efficient ways of solving the cross with it. And so I'm just going to go through a 6x6 walkthrough solve just to give some insight into the solutions. So yeah, let's have a look at this. Okay, there's a pretty easy first 2 bars. We can do R2 to make this one, make this, and I'll preserve these corners because we can then probably just bring 2 obliques down into that, and then I'll pair, wait no, I meant to do that because then I can do this and make that, and then just D prime 1, 2, 3, and we get a whole centre down there. I'm not going to start my next centre with an outer. I'll start with that, and from here, I don't want to do too many extra moves, so let's start with this. And do IE to R prime, and now we can make, since we've got none of these pieces up here, we can just make a whole 2x4. So we've got that bar. I'm gonna do something like this, pair them up. I remember that was down there, it's just R2. Oops. And insert it. Now I see blue, so I will see these. I'm just gonna, so I want to do this, and I'll pair that up, and we can get a whole block. And I saw this go down here, so we can pair them up. And I know since blue's down here, then it will be white on front, which is what I want. So I'll move this out of the way, pair this line up, and make them into a line. And I can make this line. And I'll pair these up with a slice and just insert this last bar. So now we've got our first 4 centres done, it's time to go into the cross. Sorry, drinking my drink mid-video. So I see this green one is pretty easy to start off with. I can do 3 moves like that to make all of this, then insert it down here, and just do 3 moves to insert this other edge. So that was like something like 10 moves to solve the edge. And the next one, I see all of the orange pieces, so I'm going to do this. I feel like I can do this more efficiently because this edge is back here. So if I do something like this, I can pair these up, insert them, and that orients this in a way that it can be inserted well. You don't really like edges that are facing up like this. So here I'm going to, instead of doing just F2, I could do, in fact no, I'm just going to do F2 R prime. And I mostly see blue ones. I'm just going to insert the blue ones I see, so this, and then we can just come back to this later. Now, I'm going to build this edge, but my other 2 pieces are back here, so I'm going to just misalign both of these. And then what I'm going to do is, instead of inserting this like this, which leaves this oriented like that, I'll just do L prime U to L, and that reorients it. And I can undo the setup moves and just insert this last piece. And then I'll do D2, FL, and I can build this line pretty easily. Yeah, that's a really easy last 2 centres. I'll go on for the rest of the solve. I see, well, I saw this during my cross, so chances are I'd probably go with that for my next edge. And then we've got these and these, so I'll pair them like that. And then I saw blue back here, so if we do this, we get an edge. And seeing these and this, it means I can insert it any way I want because I'm going to do the flip either way. So I'll do this. Now I can solve one edge like that, and another with a flip slice. And we've got a parity case either way. So let's just do something like, it's a pretty nasty case, but I want to leave one of these flipped. And then I'll start solving my F to L. And now I see that since these inners are oriented, I'm going to have to do the outer alg for all our parity. Whereas if they were the inners, I'd have done it using inner slices, so that I don't have to do another parity alg. And then we've just got a Z-del. So that was my Hoya solve on 6x6. So yeah, that's sort of what my Hoya solves look like right now, but as I said, I think there's a lot of room for development in this method, and I'd like to see more people giving it a go. And if you are a Hoya user and you're very fast, I would really encourage making more content, promoting how you solve certain cases, and if there's anything you do interestingly that we could be applying to ourselves, because I think that the only reason people think this is a bad method is because there's not really a lot of information out there about it, and it's definitely got a lot of room for development. So hopefully it's opened your eyes to Hoya a bit, and you might be a bit interested in trying it out. If you are interested in trying it out, some good places to start. Alvin's got some great example solves on his channel. I'm sure I have some as well. I know Sukant's got some on his channel as well. Those are the main ones I thought of, but I honestly... Oh, Luke Tixon has a 6 and 7. I can't remember what he's called on YouTube, but Luke Tixon definitely does. But also, just take some time to do some untimed solves using the method. It's not that hard to pick up, and my best advice is learn all of the very basics. I think there's even a Cubing World video about it, and Matej Groman, however you pronounce his name, also has some videos on his channel about how to do it well on 4x4. And you want to first start by learning all of the basics and different cases, which there aren't many of, and then from there you want to start working on how you can influence other edges while solving things by doing like RE to R primes or sledges and just getting better cases. So yeah, thank you for watching.